Hey everyone, welcome back to the Critic-Verse. Took a little impromptu hiatus after my birthday celebration took an unexpected turn and I ended up losing a piece of equipment. Also, my day job changed my days off, so this is me trying to get back on track. This video is going to be a little different as I'm only doing the review portion for both episodes 4 and 5 of Superman and Lois Season 3. So before we get to the video, like, comment, and subscribe for more. And now, on to the review. This episode, episode 4, is titled Too Close to Home, probably referencing the danger that is too close to home. Candace's father presented to the non-powered members of the Kent family, and the danger of Bruno Mannheim presents to the Irons family of this Earth, and how he went after John Henry's sister to get him to back off of investigating him. We finally get to see Clark and Jordan officially teaming up, and Clark even letting Jordan take over when Clark is more focused on Lois, even hearing her drop glass all the way back at the farm. Lois tells Clark just because she's sick, it doesn't mean he's allowed to listen in on her, referring back to the season 1 episode when Jordan gets his super hearing and they find out that Clark isn't allowed to listen in on Lois as one of the ground rules in their relationship. She was even almost on the verge of breaking up with him in the past when she found out that he was listening in on her. We then get an almost normal scene or almost abnormal scene of John and Jordan fighting over a hoodie. This scene is seriously so normal than what we're used to between the boys. It's almost jarring to hear them as they insult each other. They kind of sound like Sam and Dean from Supernatural. Sarah did exactly what I expected her to do with Kyle. She gave him a fraction of the story of what happened between her and Lana so that he would be on her side, which is typically how people tell a story when they know they were in the wrong but they don't want to admit it. We then get to see the kryptonite gauntlets from last episode that the Intergang member was using to attack Clark were made by this Earth's John Henry. By looking at the jetpack on his steel suit, and I definitely thought the way that the gauntlets fired looked like someone put a rocket on their arm. The scene where Jonathan and Mr. Brigandy interact was weird because we never heard Jonathan accuse him of selling XK. Also, after he hit Jonathan, the way the camera holds on him, I almost expected him to manifest powers at that moment and accidentally hurt Candace's dad. But there was no such luck, and Jonathan still has no powers. Clark tries to lighten Lois's plate since she's just had her first chemo session. In this episode, we don't see, but we do hear. First, with the boys telling them to get out of the house and not to bother their mother for anything, but that will soon backfire on him. And then him apologizing to John Henry about looking into his connection with Bruno Mannheim when he asked them not to. We get to find out that Lana was apparently abused by her own mother, which shows why she was so apologetic to Sarah not wanting to become her mother. But when given the real reason about why she slapped Sarah, even Kyle sees that Sarah was somewhat in the wrong. Not completely wrong, but not completely right, especially by what she said. Funny little Easter egg is that Lois remarked that Jonathan has a black eye the size of Australia, and Jonathan's new actor is Australian in real life, which is kind of like a funny meta reference. John Henry and his sister Darlene say their dad used to call them the Wonder Twins, referencing the DC heroes whose powers work in unison. The DoD was revealed to be housing multiple samples of Clark's blood due to when he was depowered and hospitalized after he fought Allie Alston last season. But the amount they show they had, which Clark destroyed, paled in comparison to the amount that Intergang was shown to have. Apparently they were able to replicate his blood just from a single drop. And John Henry's daughter Natalie is mentioned throughout the episode, but does not make an appearance in this episode. Who knows what she was doing? General Hardcastle makes a reappearance after her debut last season, being the superior to Lieutenant Anderson. She might even be the superior to General Lane because she knows secrets that the DoD is housing that even General Lane didn't know. Boss Moxie was mentioned as he was the leader of Intergang before Bruno Mannheim, and he was said to have been killed by Lex Luthor, who is reported to be making an appearance later in the season, even having an actor casted for the role. Mannheim is able to figure out John Henry is Steel pretty quickly, showing off Mannheim's intelligence, also that he knows how to target someone's weak points, as in their family members. After Clark learns Candace's dad is the one who hit Jonathan, and that he also pulled a gun on Lois, he goes to have a talk with Mr. Burgundy, but not as Superman, but as Clark. But this isn't the first time this actor has faced off against Clark Kent, as the actor made an appearance in the early 2000s Superman series Smallville, where he played the first meteor freak that Clark ever fought in the show. The scene is also reminiscent of the Superman 2 movie scene, where at the end, after Clark has his powers restored, he goes back to the diner where he was assaulted and then beats up the man that beat him up. But this scene also feels like a play on the scene from Man of Steel, which Clark steps in after an aggressive patron gets too friendly with a waitress, and when he tries to shove Clark, he just bounces off of him like trying to push a brick wall. John Henry does a suit-up scene that reminds me of Iron Man 3, which a lot of his scenes do, because it's almost like he has a neural link with his armor, seeing as he can just call it from wherever he is. And it's really funny that after Clark threatens Candace's dad, he switches back to his whole mild-mannered persona, like when he apologizes to everyone at the diner for how he just acted. It's almost like some sort of switch that he's able to do it so well. One more thing to note is that in the comics, Boss Moxie is actually Bruno Mannheim's father and the former leader of Intergang. So who knows if they're rewriting that backstory in the comics for the show, because they don't seem to know their connection. John returns to Bruno Mannheim to deliver a threat after he threatened Darlene and put her life in danger. But I don't actually think Darlene was in any real danger, since onomatopoeia doesn't appear in this episode at all. But I think Darlene is onomatopoeia, because the form onomatopoeia has is feminine, and it would make sense if they were both actually working for Intergang, Darlene and John Henry. But if John Henry wanted to get out and his sister as onomatopoeia killed him, because there would be no trace left behind. Lois and Clark let Candace stay with them at the Kent farm, and it almost feels like Smallville because Jonathan and Martha let a couple of Clark's love interests stay at the farm as well. After a scene with Jordan and General Lane goes south, we get the first hint of Jordan getting his super suit. And Sam also throws in his father's fighter pilot goggles, which he used in World War II, to add a personal touch to the costume, and I can't wait to see how it looks. The episode ends with Clark and Lois going to talk to John Henry about apologizing, well, Lois apologizing at least, because Clark already tried to apologize on behalf of Lois. Lois does say she isn't going to stop investigating Bruno Mannheim because he is her white whale, as she's mentioned previously before. She also decides that she's going to continue her chemo treatment at Bruno Mannheim's personal facilities that he's been funding, just so she can investigate him right under his nose. And we get to see her application from Bruno Mannheim's point of view, and he knows exactly what she's up to, and he's going to let her continue, but he's going to confront her himself. all in all, this was a really good episode. Sorry this video was so long overdue, and I'm trying to get back on track. The next video should be up pretty soon.